On March 28, 2025, a massive earthquake shook the heart of Myanmar. Registering a powerful 7.7 on the Richter scale, the earthquake's epicenter lay in the country's central region. The impact was devastating. Entire towns and villages were reduced to rubble, buildings crumbled, roads cracked and split, and bridges collapsed. The once familiar landscape was transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction. The death toll climbed rapidly as rescue workers struggled to reach those trapped beneath the debris. More than 3,000 lives were lost, a number that tragically continued to rise in the days that followed. Millions more were left homeless and displaced, their lives upended in an instant. The earthquake's impact was felt far and wide, leaving a nation reeling in its wake. The quake's epicenter, located in central Myanmar, bore the brunt of the devastation. The regions of Mandalay and Nay Pyi Taw were particularly hard hit, with widespread destruction reported. Even in distant Bangkok, the earthquake's tremors were felt, causing a high-rise building to collapse and sending shockwaves through the region. As the dust settled, the true scale of the disaster began to emerge, revealing a nation grappling with unimaginable loss and facing a long and arduous road to recovery. In the aftermath of the earthquake, a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions unfolded in Myanmar. Millions of people were displaced from their homes, left with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Survivors huddled in makeshift shelters, desperate for food, water, and medical attention. The earthquake had ripped apart the fabric of their lives, leaving them vulnerable and afraid. The most basic necessities became luxuries in the disaster zone. Clean water was scarce, raising concerns about the spread of disease. Food supplies dwindled, leaving families struggling to feed their children. Medical facilities, already strained under the weight of the ongoing political crisis, were overwhelmed with the injured and sick. The situation grew more dire with each passing day, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of natural disasters. Stories of survival emerged from the wreckage, offering glimmers of hope amidst the despair. Rescue workers toiled tirelessly, pulling survivors from the rubble days after the earthquake struck. A woman in Myanmar, trapped beneath the debris of her collapsed home, clung to life for days before being miraculously pulled to safety. These stories of resilience and the determination to survive offered a beacon of light in the face of overwhelming tragedy. As news of the disaster spread, the international community responded with an outpouring of support. Aid organizations mobilized, sending emergency supplies, medical teams, and search and rescue experts to Myanmar. Countries around the world pledged financial assistance, recognizing the urgent need to support the Burmese people in their hour of need.
However, the military junta, which had seized power in Myanmar in 2021, faced sharp criticism for its handling of the crisis. Critics accused the junta of being slow to respond, and of hindering the delivery of aid to those who needed it most. The junta's history of human rights abuses and its tight grip on power fueled concerns about corruption and the potential diversion of aid away from its intended recipients.
The United States, despite its history of providing substantial aid in times of crisis, found its capacity to respond severely hampered. Previous budget cuts and staff reductions within USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, had significantly impacted its ability to deliver aid effectively. While other U.S. allies, including South Korea and Japan, contributed to the relief efforts, their contributions were not enough to fill the void left by USAID's reduced capacity. China, on the other hand, emerged as a major player in the aid response, pledging over $13.8 million in assistance and deploying rescue and medical teams to the disaster zone. Section 4, Bangkok Protests, a tale of two realities. While Myanmar grappled with the aftermath of the earthquake, a regional summit was taking place in nearby Bangkok, Thailand. The summit, intended to foster cooperation and dialogue among Southeast Asian nations, became a focal point for protests against the Myanmar junta.
The presence of junta leader Aung Hlaing at the summit sparked outrage among human rights activists and members of the Burmese diaspora. Protesters lined the streets of Bangkok, holding banners and chanting slogans condemning the junta's brutal crackdown on dissent in Myanmar.
They called for an end to the violence, the release of political prisoners, and a return to democracy. The protests highlighted the stark contrast between the lavish setting of the summit and the suffering endured by the people of Myanmar.
The protests in Bangkok were not merely about the earthquake, they were about the ongoing political and humanitarian crisis that had gripped Myanmar for years. The earthquake had simply amplified the existing suffering, exposing the junta's failures and the international community's struggle to address the crisis effectively.
The protests served as a powerful reminder that while diplomats dined in luxurious halls, the people of Myanmar were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives.
Grassroots efforts and the path forward. Amidst the chaos and suffering, grassroots efforts have emerged as a beacon of hope. Volunteers, like S5, are tirelessly working to provide aid and support to those affected by the earthquake.
We know it's a tough journey, but every small effort counts. We're here to help rebuild lives and bring some semblance of normalcy back to the community. It's about solidarity and resilience.
These grassroots initiatives not only provide immediate relief, but also pave the way for long-term recovery and empowerment. They remind us that even in the darkest times, the human spirit's capacity for compassion and perseverance shines through.
Together we can rebuild and create a path forward. It's not just about recovery, it's about building a stronger, more united community.
As the world watches, these grassroots efforts offer a glimmer of hope and a blueprint for a brighter future. The path forward may be challenging, but with collective action and unwavering determination, a better tomorrow is within reach.